Well, glory be and mercy me. We've done it yet again. Here we are, regular walk around the graveyard. Look at me, 2 in a row. Can you believe it? We're making it happen. The system of capital hasn't destroyed me quite enough yet to keep me from stating that, hey, have you noticed how capitalism no longer has any credibility whatsoever in the electoral system that's designed theoretically to be a check against it has been completely corrupted? Because I sure have. And in BC, what the NDP are doing internally in their leadership race shows you exactly that this is the case. That the system of capital has taken over the electoral system, has corrupted it thoroughly in order to push out candidates who are actually attempting to respond rationally to the crises that capitalism is creating. This is happening with the expulsion of a candidate, Njali Appaduwari. She's literally getting expelled from the NDP leadership race on a technicality, some good old-fashioned rules lawyering. Oh well, you signed up more candidates than anybody else, and or you signed up more people into the NDP than anybody else, which is a good indicator of support. But you didn't fill out Article 583B, paragraph 24. You know. And so they're going to throw her out of the party, and this other chowderhead, who's basically just a neoliberal, who's going to essentially keep things as they are, is going to ascend to the throne of British Columbian premiership. This is just yet another example of how the system of capital has lost all of its credibility. It's not capable of responding rationally to what's going on in the world. It's not capable of actually helping the citizens because the system has structured itself intentionally in order to betray you and extract as much wealth as it possibly can from you. There is a reason why I continuously say that the only solution left for the citizenry is to gather and surround the halls of power. Because if we attempt to funnel all of our energy into electoral politics, this will be the result. And it will be the result every single time. Just take a look at the Bernie Sanders campaign that happened in America, right? He just continuously finds himself hitting walls and then eventually just says, okay, well, if I want to remain part of the system and not be expelled from it, the way that, let's say, Dennis Kucinich or Ralph Nader were, then I have to just buy in, right? I can't actually stand up for the citizenry. I can't actually fight for the citizenry. I can't actually double down, because if I do, I'll be destroyed. Well, this young lady in British Columbia is facing the exact same problem that the system of capital is standing up and saying to her, look, you either play ball or we'll just expel you from the system. Well, and she's getting expelled from the system. What are we supposed to think of this? What are we supposed to do with this? Because what I see is a society that is steadily marching itself down the path of fascism, and anybody who is standing up and saying, I don't think we should be a fascist country. I think that we should fight against fascism. I think that we should fight against the worst outcomes of capitalism, simply get discarded. This is how fascists win. Fascists win because liberals bend the knee. That they take a look at people saying, we should provide housing for the homeless. Maybe we shouldn't burn down the civilization. And say to them, that's extremism. And then turn to far-right radical fascists who are genocidal and say, but we should give these guys a chance to speak. It's literally what has been happening in this country for at least a decade, where far-right neo-Nazis and fascists are given platform and are given the ability to speak, are allowed to run for office, are allowed to take power. You just take a look at someone like Doug Ford, the worst premier in the history of the country, whose abandonment of the disabled is so thorough and so specifically done that the federal government is now forced to step in to create new systems in order to respond to his callous disregard that is done on such a level that it has to be called Nazism. We're literally throwing disabled people out into the street and throwing them into MAID systems, medically assisted dying systems, and saying, hey, these are your options. Get to work, disabled person, or go die. It's an embarrassment to live in this country under these conditions, and it's embarrassing, and it's going to continue to be this way because of what is happening in British Columbia. That when reasonable people with reasonable ideas who want to respond rationally to the crises that capitalism is generating actually gather enough support in order to get into the halls of power and actually begin to push and pressure and get something done, they're simply expelled. They're simply discarded, carving the path for the neo-fascists to come up behind them. We have to surround the halls of power. There's nothing left for us to do. There's nowhere else for us to put our energy. Electoral politics has failed. It is completely corrupted by a capitalist death cult that has stated from its mouth repeatedly and over again that its objective is to destroy the society, to destroy the economy, and now to destroy the species for money. If we do not begin to organize and take this crisis of capitalism seriously, if we continue believing that these fraudulent, failed, loser capitalists are actually going to have a come to Jesus moment and pivot away from the neo-fascist era they're ushering in, then we are just going to be dominated and ruled as slaves. And it is as simple as that. You can see the revolutions and the strikes and the mass protests occurring across Europe right now. The media won't report on it, but you can see that it's happening. Why isn't it happening in Canada? Why are we so pathetic? Why do we refuse to acknowledge that the system has failed utterly and will do nothing but continue to fail? We have to surround the halls of power. There's no other alternative. Like, share, subscribe while I'm still on the platform. The Nazis will chase me off this platform eventually, guys. You watch it happen, right? As the far right takes power, as the Nazism spreads throughout the country, voices like mine will simply be chased out of the conversation. It's already happening through a process of deprioritization, right? It's already happening. You can see it happen. You could witness it happen if you care. Like, share, subscribe. We've got to support leftist voices. We have to. We have no other alternatives. The system is betraying us, and it will ultimately destroy us if we don't stand up against it. And always remember, you are a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. The billionaire class is spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the hopes you'll never realize it. You'll just stay the good little commodity they need you to be. Revolt, rebel, repent. Good luck. We're gonna need it.